So, are we about to see a major political shakeup in Japan? An editorial from the Sankei Shimbun is suggesting a brand new governing alliance might be in the works. And folks, this could fundamentally reshape the country's future. Let's dive in and break down what's going on.
And the whole thing really boils down to one central question. Are two of Japan's major political parties about to join forces? We're talking about a potential coalition government here, and the implications of this new political power couple, well, they would be massive.
All right, so who are the two players at the heart of all this? First, you've got the Liberal Democratic Party, the LDP, which has pretty much dominated Japanese politics for decades. And on the other side, Nippon Ishin no Kai, or Ishin, a really powerful opposition party. A partnership between these two wouldn't just be news, it would be a total game changer.
So, just how close are we to seeing this new alliance in Tokyo? Well, let me tell you, this isn't just speculation or some backroom rumor. These two parties are already deep in formal policy discussions, and the outcome could seriously alter the way Japan is governed. The immediate goal here is to hammer out a formal policy agreement. And the stakes? They could not be higher. If they can actually strike a deal, Ishin has agreed to support the LDP's president, Sanae Takaichi, in her bid to become the next prime minister.
So what makes an alliance like this even possible? I mean, we're talking about a ruling party and an opposition party. Well, it turns out they already have a pretty significant foundation to build on. Let's take a look at where they already see eye to eye. And just how significant is that common ground? According to the source, the LDP and Ishin have already reached an agreement on 12 key policy points. 12! That's a huge head start for any negotiation. And we are not talking about minor issues here. These are the big foundational topics. We're talking constitutional reform, national security, energy policy, including nuclear power, and even policies that affect foreigners living in Japan. But the absolute centerpiece, the real core of their potential agreement, is the push to amend Japan's constitution. This is such a foundational issue for the country, and their shared desire for reform is what's really driving these talks forward. And the editorial is incredibly direct about the end goal. It states, quote, "Ultimately, Article 9, Paragraph 2 must be deleted." Wow, that is a powerful and historically significant statement. But what does it actually mean? Okay, so here's the crucial context. Article 9, Paragraph 2 is the specific clause in Japan's post-war constitution that basically renounces war and forbids the country from maintaining military forces. So getting rid of it would be a monumental shift, allowing Japan to officially have its own military. And they even have a 3-step plan to get there. First up, they'd establish a council to draft the amendments. Step 2 would be to explicitly recognize the existing self-defense forces in the Constitution. And finally, Step 3, they'd add an emergency clause to help them respond better to major disasters. But, and this is a big but, the deal is far from done. Despite all this common ground, there are still some major hurdles to overcome, some key policy areas where the two sides are still pretty far apart. So here are the main sticking points, and they really get to the core of domestic politics. Ishin is pushing hard to get rid of the consumption tax on food items, a move that would be popular for sure, but also really expensive. They also want to completely ban corporate political donations, which would, really challenge the LDP's traditional fundraising machine. And they're calling for a 10% cut in the number of diet members. On all three of these, the LDP's official stance is still under negotiation, which just shows you how tough these domestic issues are to sort out. So you gotta ask, why this big push for a coalition right now? What's the rush? Well, according to the Sankei editorial, it's all about responding to a rapidly changing world and this urgent need for political stability to face down some very serious challenges.
In that sense of urgency, it's framed primarily around national security. The editorial points explicitly to what it sees as a growing threat from 3 specific neighbors: China, Russia, and North Korea.
Yep, that's 3 neighbors the editorial describes as anti-Japan, nuclear-armed authoritarian regimes. And it argues their deepening ties pose a direct threat. So the argument here is that this new coalition would have the mandate it needs to respond. And that means drastically strengthening defense, developing long-range missile capabilities, and creating the kind of political stability that's needed to navigate this whole new security environment.
Really, the editorial boils its entire argument down to this one powerful line: the times demand the implementation of realistic policies. At its core, this is a call for a pragmatic, security-focused government to deal with the challenges of today.
And so, we're left with this huge question. The common ground on national security is immense, but those disagreements on domestic policy, they are very, very real. Can these two parties actually bridge that gap to set Japan on a fundamentally new course? That is the political drama we all need to be watching.